Our guest today is the Associate in Research at the Learning Systems Institute at Florida State University, Amanda Tazaz. Dr. Tazaz earned her Ph.D. in Biological Oceanography from FSU in 2013. She holds additional degrees in both economics and marine biology, and she began working with Qualtrics in 2013 as a research project manager and has since continued refining her online survey techniques. Welcome, and thank you for taking the time to help us today as we learn to strengthen our research through online surveys.
Thank you guys for having me. So I'm going to go through today and show you guys basically everything that you need to start Qualtrics, to get up and running today if you wanted to. And if you guys have any questions about certain functionalities, I'll try to troubleshoot and help you guys out. But other than that, it's just going to be a quick overview on the Qualtrics platform that Florida State University offers to all faculty, staff, and students free of charge. There's no charge to your department. And so I'm going to jump right in with sharing my screen. All of these features that I'm going to show today, you can do as of today. You don't have to ask for any special permissions from ITS or anything like that. So what you'll do is you just open your internet browser. It's just fsu.qualtrics.com. So that's the quickest way to get into Qualtrics. That's the way I do it every day. I just type fsu.qualtrics.com. And if you're not already logged in through your Omni or your my.fsu, you will get the same pop-up where you have to enter your FSU credentials, and then you will be able to access the Qualtrics suite. So if you've never used Qualtrics before, when you first log in, it will be nice and blank. It might ask you to verify your name, some things like that if you've absolutely never logged in. But once you get in, it'll look blank just like this, except you won't have all these folders on the side because those are things that I've already done. And then to create a survey, you just click over here to where it says create a new project. So I know when I first started doing Qualtrics surveys, it was a way so that we as researchers didn't have to spend time during professional development trainings or things like that to have research participants conduct surveys. You normally give them a battery of surveys to do. And so we found that when we were doing that, we were sometimes introducing bias by increasing the anxiety of teachers. So some people don't like to take surveys in a group of strangers. You never know what might have happened on the way going to your training. They might have higher anxiety levels. And so we tried to figure out a way to avoid all that by providing these surveys online. And that's how I got into Qualtrics. So when I first started, I was really nervous. I was like, how am I going to create all these surveys? I don't know anything about Qualtrics. I'm not a computer programmer. I mean, I know how to do certain things on web pages and things like that, but I'm not a computer programmer by any means, shape, form. And so I went through here and I was looking and I was like, oh, wow, Qualtrics has a lot of these templates where you can, find what you're looking for, what type of survey you're wanting to use. And then you can actually click on them and you can see some templates that Qualtrics has provided for you to use. You don't have to use every question in there. You can pick and choose if you want some of the questions from this template, some of the questions from that template. So that's a quick way if you want to just get your feet wet right away and you want to use a template that's been created. That's an easy way to do it. But when most of the time you might not find what you need in all of these templates. And so you would want to create your own survey. So you would click this button up here. This is how you create a brand new survey. So you click it. And then it asks you to name your project. So I'm going to name this survey Workshop Testing. And then once you create the survey, you could either use it as a brand new blank survey, or you can copy some of the surveys that you've used in the past. So once you get good at this and you've done multiple surveys and you want to create copies, you can create copies of your surveys. You can create copies from Word documents. If you have the surveys already in a Word document, you can upload the Word document and Qualtrics will try to help you figure out which documents, which questions, types, and things like that. But today we're just going to start with a brand new survey. So you'd click Get Started. I'm going to create a couple of quick questions, and then I'm going to have you guys do the survey. I'm going to provide the link in the chat box, and I'm going to ask that you guys do the survey so that I can continue to show you guys some functionalities. So the first type of question, sometimes, you want to ask questions that are multiple choice type questions. So today I'm going to do, is this your first time taking a Qualtrics survey. And you'll see Qualtrics does do checking for spelling errors sometimes, but sometimes it doesn't always get it right. And as I typed the question, Qualtrics kind of read the question and came up with some answer choices. So it gave me definitely yes, probably yes, might not know, probably not, and definitely not. So if you like these choices that it gives you, you can definitely keep them, or you can go over here and change to different types. So they have a whole battery of different types of multiple choice questions that they feel, answers that they feel you might want to use for the type of question that you are presented with. And so I just want to do a yes, no situation. So I'm going to reduce down to 2. And you see now it has reduced down to yes or no. If for some reason this is not the answer choices you want, all you have to do is click on it, and you can modify it any way you want by just typing in the box. So I will say, yes, it is, or no, it is not. And voila, that's your very first Qualtrics question. So to add a next question, you just hit the plus button, and then we can create a next question. Maybe for this question, I don't want it to be a multiple choice. So you can go over here to change question type, and you click here, and these are all the different types of questions that Qualtrics has pre-programmed into the system where you don't need to know any coding whatsoever. For the next question, I'm thinking I would like to have a text entry where the research participant will answer by providing the answer in an open text. So I'm going to go over here to text entry, and I can click this little down arrow, and it gives me different options. Do I want a single line text? Do I want a multi-line text? Do I want a little short password phrase? Do I want to provide them with an essay box, or do I want to provide them with a form? So for today, I'm going to do the form. We use a form to collect people's information, like their first name, their last name, and their email address. So now this is a form. So when the research participant sees this question in Qualtrics, it's going to appear to them like a form. So sometimes when you have these types of questions, people don't always give you, especially for email addresses, you don't always get the correct email address. So in Qualtrics, they have a way where you can actually edit the form field, and you can tell Qualtrics that this last one is an email address. So when you select valid email address, it will automatically force the person to provide an email address that's valid. Now, it doesn't check the whole of the internet to make sure it's a real email address. All it's really looking for is if it conforms to the standard @ and then something dot something, whether it's .com, .edu, all the different dots, but that's really what it's looking for. And then the last type of question I'm going to show quickly here is we can do like we'll do a rank order. So for this one, what do you like most? So for this one, I'm going to do something like Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts. So what you do after you create your survey questions is you just go up here and you click this button that says publish. Qualtrics over the years have changed their publishing features, and they've added this thing called expert review. Qualtrics looks at all your questions, and it gives you a review of your survey and how it thinks your survey will do and how long it thinks that participants might spend on it, and whether or not it thinks your survey is good, bad, or not bad. And then it provides you with recommendations on how you can change your survey. So like when I clicked it right now, it's telling me that some of my questions are not accessible under the WCAG. I'm not sure, basically for people with disabilities. It also tells me that it's past some display logic. It's past some things like it's very mobile friendly. It goes through a list of things to see whether or not you've passed certain things and what things it will suggest for you to change. So you don't have to make any of the suggested changes. If you feel like your survey is good to go, all you do is then you click publish. So now that I've published my survey, it's given me the survey link, which I'm going to put in the chat. So I'm going to give you guys 1 or 2 minutes to do some of the questions on the survey as I show some more features for the survey. So once I go back to the main survey page by clicking just the Qualtrics at the top, it shows me this is the survey we just created. It tells me today was the last date I modified it. It tells me that the survey is active, which means I created the survey link. And it tells me how many people have responded so far. So say you are, your survey's been out for a couple of days and you're ready to look at your data to see who has done the survey, what are their responses. You would go back to your main page where we are, and you click these 3 little dots here, and you'll go down to where it says data and analysis, and it brings you to a page that will display on the main page. It'll show you that your responses are being indexed. Sometimes this takes a while, but in the top right corner, it shows you how many responses have been recorded and how many are in process. So what you would do is you go to export and import, and you want to export the data so that you can look at it. So from Qualtrics, you can export the data in many different formats. You can export in a CSV, which is something that Excel can read. You can export in an Excel workbook. You can export in an SPSS file. You can export to Google Drive. I usually just export into CSV, and then you just click download, and it starts to download, and then you'll see that an Excel document will open. So this is all the data you guys just provided me for the survey. And from here, I can see that a lot of people, this is not your first time looking at Qualtrics surveys. So here's the question: is this your first time taking the survey? And then your first names, last names. Some people said, yes, they like Starbucks more. Some people said they like Dunkin' better. And some people did not answer the question. So that is something that, as a researcher, it is the most saddening thing that you can have, is that you've created this very extravagant survey and you've sent it out to your participants and you've offered them, I don't know if you offer them a stipend or something to complete the survey. And then you get the results and you realize that they skipped a lot of questions, because now you have something you've introduced called missing data. And so when you go back into your survey questions, the button here you can press that says force response, and that will force the participant to respond to the question. And you can do that for every single type of question. You can even give special categories to what kind of responses they need to give, whether or not it's a numerical response or if it's a only text response. There's lots of different things that you can force or provide. You can do custom validations so that it validates to make sure only certain types of fields are answered with certain types of output. The other thing Qualtrics is good for is this tab here called reports. And so when you click the reports page, Qualtrics will show you each question individually, and it will provide you with a quick output, a visual output of the reports to tell you how your participants are responding to certain questions. And so this question, you can see that overwhelmingly, a lot of people click no as opposed to yes. And then for what do you like most, which I'm not sure if I formatted correctly to the right type of question, but you can see here the different responses and how participants responded. And so if you ever need to just to copy some of a graphic really quickly for a report that you're doing, you can always come here to these reports and you can download these automatically generated reports from Qualtrics on your data. As researchers, we typically don't work alone. We usually work in teams of people, whether or not it's us working with other faculty collaborators, graduate students, whether it's working with postdocs, whether it's working with other people from other institutions. We usually don't do these types of things alone. And so one feature that I find very helpful is a collaboration feature. So Qualtrics allows you to collaborate on the development of a survey, with a development and monitoring of the survey with multiple people. And so what you would do is you just come here to the right-hand side of the screen, you click the same 3 little arrows, and you do collaborate. And once you do the collaboration, you can type in an email address. You can type in, you can type in a name of an FSU person, and it will try to pull it up. or you can just provide an email address of somebody at another institution. And so I'm going to pick somebody's name from this list and let's see what pops up. So let's see if Caitlin Graves is on this list. And so here's Caitlin Graves. I would just click Caitlin and then I would click add. And then it asks me, do I want to send a specific message to Caitlin, letting Caitlin know about the survey? So I can say, hi, Caitlin, this survey is the one that we're going to be deploying with researchers that are with the research participants in XYZ project. And then you click OK, and Qualtrics will send an email to Caitlin, letting Caitlin know that I have asked for Caitlin to be a collaborator on this survey. So I am not going to select OK because I don't know if this is the right Caitlin in this meeting, but I'm going to put another person that I do know because I know her, I work with her, and she will understand what I'm doing. So once you add a collaborator, you can change the different options that you want the collaborator to have. Do you want the collaborator to have full editing rights on your survey? So if not, you can come here and individually remove the things that you don't want the collaborator to have access to. Do you want the collaborator to be able to view reports? You can say, yes, you want them to be able to do all these things, or no, I don't want them to do any of these things. Do you want the collaborator to be able to activate and deactivate a survey? Do you want the collaborator to be able to copy a survey where then they can reproduce the survey on their own without your permission? Or do you want the collaborator to be able to distribute the survey to other people? So Qualtrics allows you to do all of these different functionalities with collaborations for people within FSU community, whether it's graduate students, undergraduate students, faculty, staff, or you can send it to anybody outside the university. All you actually just need is an email address. And then you would click save, and then that person will be notified, and then they'll be a collaborator on your survey. And then the last thing that I'm going to show today is about creating a panel and deploying directly from Qualtrics. So right now, I was able to provide you guys with the Qualtrics link in the chat box for you guys to complete the survey. So sometimes that works if you have a general survey that it's going to be open to the public, things like that. You can just create the survey in Qualtrics. You can have the link available, and then you can either produce the link and provide the link, through a regular email that you're providing to your research participants, or you're going to post it on a website, something like that. But there's other ways that you can provide links to people. When you go to the distributions page in Qualtrics, which is another place where you will get the single link that we just did. So like this is the anonymous link that I just put into the Qualtrics link. You could get a QR code for your survey. So if you are one who likes to post posters around campus with QR codes for people to randomly take surveys, you can definitely have a QR code for your survey. You can create a embedded link for your survey for social media. You can create these personal links, which is something that I do often. We sometimes worry about research participants taking the surveys for other research participants or not the correct person taking the correct survey. And so you can create personalized links where you provide a list of participants, and the Qualtrics will create a unique survey link for each of your participants. And then they have this function here in Qualtrics where it's called an email. And so when you do an email survey in Qualtrics, it's going to ask you who in your contact list do you want to send the email survey to. And so if I don't have a list of people, you can quickly create a list of people by providing the email addresses and their first names and last names. And I'll do it with me. And if you have a research participant number, so that later, when you get the data, you want to be able to de-identify this data, you can definitely add your research participant numbers here. It can be letters and numbers. It can be anything you want. And you will create this participant list of one person. And you will you can create the email to say, who do you want the email to come from? So say, for example, it's always going to come from a Qualtrics email because Qualtrics is the one sending the email. But say you want it to display your name or your project name, you can change that here. And then when the participant receives the email, sometimes they want to reply. So you can tell it who do you want the replies to come to and when do you want the email to be sent out. So I want to send the email out right now as opposed to sending it out in 28 days. So I'm going to send it right now to myself. I'm going to write a test. And Qualtrics already provides embedded all this information about your survey. So you don't have to worry about pasting the survey link. It provides it already. But you can put in the body of the email that you want to say. So whether it's like, hey, thank you for being a research participant. I would like you to complete this survey at your convenience, so on and so forth. You can send a preview email to yourself to make sure that the email is formatted the way you would like it to be, or you can send it now. So I'm going to send it now just so I can show you guys what happens when you send an email directly from Qualtrics. So it says here on the right-hand side, 1 email is sent and no emails were failed. So there were no bounce backs. And my email just popped up in my email here to tell me that Qualtrics has sent. Here's the email. So this is the test email that we just sent from Qualtrics, where the research participant can click this link here, or they can copy and paste this really long survey to the browsers. Typically in my research, we don't use this format for sending Qualtrics surveys. So there's this unsubscribe option. And I'm not 100% sure that if a research participant clicks unsubscribe, if it unsubscribes them forever and always from receiving any Qualtrics emails, or if it just unsubscribes them from you. And so because of that, we don't typically send automatically through Qualtrics because I want to be able to ensure that all of my research participants receive the surveys. And so what we do is we typically send it through a mail merge from our own personal emails, where we know that if a participant replied, they told us maybe they don't want to be contacted, then we can remove them manually, as opposed to this version where they can unsubscribe from Qualtrics altogether. And then pretend I clicked the link and I completed the survey. Over here, it shows you how many of the people you've emailed started the survey, how many they finished the survey, and so on and so forth. And then what you can do is you can schedule these reminders. So when you send out the surveys, you can say, okay, I want to schedule a reminder to anybody who has not completed the survey in 7 days. So what Qualtrics will do is in 7 days, for all of the people who have not started the survey, it's going to tell them they need to do the survey. And for all those who have started the survey but did not finish, it will remind them to go back into their survey and complete their survey.